Hey everyone. So, yes, I'm tired of talking about politics. I have done it enough. I wanted to talk. This is a sort of fluffy video compared to other stuff I've been talking about. This is more about media and the portrayal. I have done a whole bunch of videos about like the portrayal of witchcraft in media, but this is about the portrayal of mysticism in media. I think first we should define what the word means. I think that the anthropological definition of mysticism is the practice or belief that you can have direct contact with the divine, whether it's a god or a spirit or something, um, directly without the intermediary of a cleric or a priest or some kind of clergy. Um, That's quite a strict definition. The way the word is usually used is some kind of like intersectional, atmospheric, poetic um, expression of philosophy and spirituality kind of intermingles. So, the general understanding, I think I read like this comedic book about esoteric stuff when I was young, and it said that the great thing about mysticism is you can throw it into any conversation and nobody knows what it means. Which is kind of almost like what the word sounds like. It sounds like mist and mystery, and it tends to conjure up images of mystique. But what I was interested to discover when I was doing my like pagan witch movie review project, I did several different types of searches, including shamanism and paganism, and it was interesting to see which keywords were useful and which were not. Um, the word witch itself was not so useful because it tends to just bring up a lot of stuff about like the satanic scare type of stuff, which I mean I regard as Christian content really. Um, but when you search for the word mysticism, what do you suppose comes up on Google or YouTube? Action fantasy. What? That is like, I mean, within the realm of kind of supernatural content, that is almost the opposite of mysticism. Um, people zapping each other with blue lightning is not. It's pretty far from mysticism, really. Like mysticism is kind of not combat magic. It's a much more sort of at the very least introspective, if not definitively profound. Um, anyway, so I wanted to give some examples of movies that, in fact, are mystical, even allowing for the very loose interpretation of what mysticism is. Um, One example would be Baba Aziz, which is a movie about Sufis, and another is Hideous Kinky, which is not a terribly mystical name, but it's also about Sufis, and it is definitely quite a mystical story. Enchanted April is kind of mystical. Um, Sirens from the Australian movie with Elle Macpherson, I would say that's getting close to mysticism. I mean, that's even like the pretty technical definition because she's having this sort of divine experience. It's kind of like mysticism is all about the epiphany. When your eyes open and you see the world in a different way, you start to see it in a spiritual way or a way that it, goes beyond what you thought reality was. That would be considered mystical, and then it makes you think in a philosophical way and wonder about things. Um, do I have any other good examples? Yes. I mean, maybe a little more loosely, but I would say that the miniseries Dreamkeeper about Native American beliefs is pretty mystical. In fact, I would say if you're either a pagan or a mystic or interested in any kind of alternative spirituality, you really should watch that one because it is magnifico. It's quite well made, and I thought they did a decent job. I think that if I was, you know, if I was Mohawk or Cherokee or one of the indigenous tribes in the United States or Canada, I might have things that I would nitpick about, like I do about things that I really know a lot about, because usually that is the case, and I know that as soon as you get a marketing team and a production company involved, they like to sort of do things more sloppily, which tends to be then less accurate and less informative. Um, but I found it overall pretty well put together, and I mean, it conveyed something to me that felt mystical. You know, on in that very sentimental, emotional way of what you think mysticism would be, according to your sort of emotional intuition. And now, why am I even talking about this? Oh yes, because I actually think the word is a little bit important. Because I think there's a difference between, like, there's definitely a difference between religion and mysticism. Although usually most religions have a kind of mystical branch that it's like the the faction within the religion that allows for you. There were Christian mystics also, that allows for you to do a kind of your own inquiry into the essence of the philosophy and the ideologies, and also, you know, maybe experience directly what the essence of the philosophy is. And now, I think in most cases, in most sort of modern New Age circles, there is an attempt to force it with like ayahuasca or shrooms or something like that, which I would question whether that is truly mystical because you're using an external catalyst in order to access the divine. So I kind of I wonder if that's divine at that point or if it's just your body chemicals going crazy. Um, you know, I have my own kind of like mystical skepticism about that, but but yeah, I mean, you know, no judgment. Like if you have done those kind of journeys, I know a lot of people have, and they're very inspired by them. But I also think that there's something to be said for doing it yourself, like, you know, the breathing exercises and the mindfulness, awareness, um, all of, you know, Tai Chi or whatever causes you to focus, I think is more powerful than something which is like, if there's a external catalyst, it tends to then leave you helpless to be able to get back to that state. It's kind of like steroids rather than building the muscle, but on a mental level. Anyway, yeah, I think that was all I had to say on the matter. I know that there are other movies that I consider mystical. Um, Return to Aztlan, I would say, is mystical. It's a movie about the Aztecs. But I couldn't really tell you why. It's just that it's. I remember when they talked about the making of the movie and the reviews that came out about the A Return to Aztlan was that it was too obscure for audiences to really grasp what was going on in the story, because it's presented very authentically the way Aztec folkloric myth or you know, liturgical story would be told without any attempt to explain it to a normie audience. And I thought I thought it was great that they did it that way. And it didn't lose any entertainment value for me just because I couldn't fully understand it. If anything, it was like you watch it and you're sort of tripping. But maybe I'm predisposed to like that sort of thing because I have like an emotional connection whenever I see Aztec art or Inca art or Egyptian art for that matter. I feel some kind of emotional reverence, which is absent when I look at, for instance, the Sistine Chapel or, images of the benediction or the crucifixion or anything like that. Like, that stuff leaves me cold. But when I look at those kind of polytheistic religious art, it moves me in a way that I can't even explain. Like, it's a sort of visual that then produces an emotional response in me, which is like a taste almost. Anyway, which I would describe as mystical. So that's my whole rundown of mysticism as it is portrayed in media, and maybe I'll link Dreamkeeper and A Road to Aslan. I think that's a good idea, actually, in case anyone wants to watch these movies, because they're very good. And I love you all. Bye for now.